Trachtenberg. You son of a bitch. There's no denying that there has been a resurgence with the Predator franchise, much of it due to director and co-writer Dan Trachtenberg, who gave us both Prey and the CG animated anthology film Killer of Killers, which both came out on Hulu in 2022 and 2025 respectively. Now, finally getting a chance to show what he can do with the Predator franchise on the big screen, we have Predator Badlands, which is the first time in the film franchise where we are seeing a Predator as the actual protagonist of the film. The film follows Dek, played by New Zealand actor Demetrius Schuster-Koloamatangi, who is a young member of the Yautja species who is trying to prove himself as a hunter, but unfortunately his father sees him as the weak link in their tribe and has decided that he needs to be eliminated for the sake of all of the others in his tribe. After he manages to escape his father's wrath, Dek travels to the planet Genna, where he is planning to hunt and kill that planet's most fiercest predator in hopes of taking it back to his tribe as a trophy, thus proving his worth. Unfortunately, this is a planet that he is not familiar with, as in terms of the terrain, in terms of the wildlife, and his only recourse is to form a partnership with a damaged Wailing Yutani synthetic named Thea, played by Elle Fanning, who hopes to use Dek to get back to her outpost in exchange for helping him hunt and kill the Kalisk. Right off the bat, I love that Predator Badlands is able to do something different with the Predator franchise while still feeling a little bit familiar, especially when you look at the relationship Dek has with his brother Quay, which feels almost comparable in general to the overall structure of the film that preceded it, Prey, where Naru is also a young hunter trying to prove themselves and having to take on a threat that they don't entirely understand, but through their resourcefulness and their determination, they're able to overcome this challenge. And I think especially in the way that Dek has his relationship with his brother Quay in the same way Naru has her relationship with her brother in that film, I think it's something that it doesn't feel like too much of a retread, but just something that helps to kind of connect those films in a way that is very engaging for the audience. And just to see how they kind of play it out from the perspective of a member of the Yautja species as opposed to doing it from a human character is, again, something that we really haven't seen before. We also get a few nice nods to the original Predator film that are done in a way that's in service to the overall narrative of the film without feeling very fan servicey, which is something that I definitely felt like was an issue with some of the other sequels that we've had in this franchise. Obviously, fans were going to be concerned about the PG-13 rating for this film, and I already did a video covering my thoughts on the rating for Predator Badlands, and I feel like this is a situation where nothing was really lost as I was watching the film and seeing how it played out from it not being rated R. I look at it like this. We have had over half a dozen Predator films that were R-rated, where they had plenty of gore, violence, people getting shanked to death, people getting skinned alive, people getting their skull and spines ripped out. Predator 2 even featured a naked innocent bystander played by a legitimate mattress actress of the time, Terry Weigel. Let's take this opportunity to actually explore more of the Yautja culture, especially considering the fact that this is the first time, I think, in terms of the films anyway, where we're even using that terminology to describe the specific species after this franchise has gone on almost 40 years, at least in terms of the films, because I know that they've explained it in depth in novels, comics, video games. And unless you're already into all of that stuff, this is, again, new information for you as an audience member that you can take in, and just to see them communicate with each other. And there's a whole language that they speak that we're not just interpreting as, clicks and growls like we usually do when we see these films. It's definitely a credit to Dimitris Schuster-Kolomotangi as an actor, given that he's not necessarily known as a creature performer and not being a character that is speaking English. So you have to do a lot in terms of your body movement and the way you react to things in the moment. And even though you're not seeing his face, you still get to have the sense of, all right, when certain things happen to this character, how his body is moving. When he gets trapped by his father at the beginning, and you just see all of the energy he's putting into struggling with his shoulders, and just how he kind of reacts to Thea as a character, because she's very talkative and very lively, and he's not really understanding that as someone who is basically trained to be a hunter and someone who is basically been indoctrinated since birth to believe that he is not supposed to have these emotional connections with any other living being. And just to see how Schuster-Kolomotangi is putting all of those emotions and reactions into how he moves his body, into how he fights and how he defends himself. It's all doing the work to build this character and have you engaged, even though he is not a human character like we're used to seeing as the focal point from most Predator films. And as for Thea, Elle Fanning was just a great counterbalance to that, where even though she is a synthetic, and again, this is something that we're seeing a tie to the Alien franchise, but we're not doing it in such a way that feels, again, like it's fan service. This is something that, we're just acknowledging that the Alien franchise exists in conjunction with the Predator franchise based on, the corporate umbrella that both of these franchises are under, but we don't have to include the xenomorphs. And again, it gives us an opportunity to have a synthetic character that gets to be have their own agency and be a little bit more expressive than we usually see from other synthetic characters, especially after the 2 Prometheus films, and even with the recent Alien Earth series that just wrapped up its first season. Elle Fanning is doing a great job of selling you on this idea of Thea just being fascinated by the entire world of Genna and being sort of cheerful about the prospect of meeting Deck and being able to just have some sort of interaction with another character, unlike her other synthetics that are basically just programmed for combat or reconnaissance. And this also comes into play because she has a counterpart to her model, which is Tessa, also played by Elle Fanning, who is very much more in line with sort of working in service of what Weyland-Yutani wants. And Thea is ultimately more inquisitive and wants to be more of her own person, so to speak. And to that end, you have a film that definitely is leaning more into sort of comedic aspects as far as these interactions with Deck and the whole fact that most of this film is spent with her being strapped to Deck's back, similar to how C-3PO had to be carried around by Chewbacca in the 3rd act of Empire Strikes Back, and just seeing how they have to sort of evade threats that come their way while being tethered to one another. It is pretty funny and never feels terribly forced. It doesn't feel like anything that drags the overall tone of the movie down, because again, we're not trying to do what the other Predator films did, where we're taking every aspect of it deadly serious and just spending all of that time trying to clue you in as the audience to there being major threats, even though there are. And again, I think the creature design in this film is really creative, and you just have a lot of great set pieces where Dec and Thea have to square off against all types of menacing creatures, and even from the whole idea of being in this field where all the blades of grass are literal blades. It's kind of crazy, just the idea that even if the animals aren't killing you, you still have the environment to contend with. And I think for a film like this, where the Predator is involved and it's a young character who is not terribly familiar with being on these kinds of hunts, that's something that makes for an enjoyable experience, especially if you're someone who is a fan of these films in general. And yes, we have to talk about the character of Bud, because this is sort of a character that looks like, you know, a chimpanzee and is very cute, very friendly with Dec and Thea, especially after they save each other's lives during one particular scene. But I will fight wars for Bud. I will defend her with my life if I have to, because yes, it is that adorable animal character that you see in sort of these adventure type films, and it is a bit of a cliche, but it's a cliche that works, and I just had nothing but love for this character, especially when you see how she factors into the overall film. Bottom line, Predator franchise is whatever Dan Trachtenberg wants to do with it. I am confident in saying that right now, because the man is 3 for 3 between Prey and Killer of Killers. There is a lot that he has done to bring this franchise back to popularity, and just doing something dramatically different in every film, while also kind of keeping a few threads that play out throughout all of them. I think in terms of just being able to expand the franchise and the lore of the Yautja in the films is something that I think we've really wanted to see happen for a while now. And it's great that this particular filmmaker is getting the opportunity to do that and bring a lot of creativity, and we just get a sense that, all right, what else can he do with this franchise that would be unique and engaging? Because if nothing else, it was great to see that they have a trophy room that features a skull from one of the aliens from Independence Day. So imagine if this would be a way to get that franchise back to being good. Hey guys, thanks for watching. As always, if you've got your own thoughts or opinions on Predator Badlands, go ahead and leave a comment in the section below. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the notification bell, share this video with your friends and family, and if you'd like to keep up to date on more at random videos, you can click the subscribe button right over here.